Okay. Welcome back to the Chemical Man Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and today I want to go over something basic, Pump 101. Okay, for a lot of people out there that have not worked in the industry, a lot of people get in the industry, a lot of people don't really know a lot of the different things. Okay, so I drew a standard pump here. If you saw one of my other lockout videos, you know it's kind of the same. But anyway, I drew a standard pump that we have in our facility. Okay, you're going to have you're going to have a motor. Okay. That's gonna turn. You're gonna connect the motor to an impeller. Okay, an impeller is just like it's like almost like a blade inside a housing, right? And then from there it's a coupling. Okay, and majority of these pumps have couplings, and so what that does was that you have your impeller housing here, you have your motor here, and then you have a bar that goes in, and it's connected in there on the two. So what it is, it's designed to save your motor if anything happens, so your motor doesn't get broken on there. So as this turns the impeller and causes the material to flow like it should, right? Okay, but that coupling, so say if something gets stuck in that impeller and it jams it, that motor is going to turn and break that coupling, so you won't get flow anymore, but it saves your motor and it saves whatever else you need, and then all you got to do is just get a new coupling, clear out what you need to do in the impeller on there. Okay, so you're going to have a lot of standard stuff. You're going to have start-stop switches out that should be out in the field for those. You're going to have a breaker over there that sends the power, that you can turn the power on and off to the motor, right? Okay, and then on your discharge, always on your discharge of your pumps, you should always have some kind of pressure gauge on here, right? So it's going to tell you the pressure, so you know you got flow. So if you have 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 60 pounds, whatever, as you flow, it's going to tell you the pressure coming through that pipe. So you know you can go out there when you're making your rounds, you can see that. Majority of the pumps we have, and most of them, you have a check valve. Okay, a check valve, like I said before, is a little flap. So as material goes up, opens the flap. When the pump stops, the check valve closes, and nothing from the top can get back down in the bottom, so it prevents backflow on there. You should have a check valve on there, okay? You should have a discharge valve too on there. So, you can throttle this back a little. You can throttle this back to watch your pressure. So if you need to prime a pump, you start it, close it, and then as you open it, you can see your pressure gauge go like 100, 200, whatever you're using, and then back and forth, and then it backs down to wherever you need to be as you open that too. And then from there, it goes out to, you may have a strainer. It goes out to a control valve. The control man can open and close on that. Okay, you have a suction come in, right? And you should have a valve. This is what we have. You should have a valve before your suction on there too. So you have a valve, and we have bleeds on the suction line that comes out, and we have bleeds on the discharge on there. And we have that designed that way because if you ever need to do anything with this impeller or this motor, you can block your suction and discharge in, and then you can clear through there, and you clear everything out of that impeller they need to work on. Okay. Now the majority of our pumps, I don't have it drawn on here, but we have stuff that goes to a seal. So you have a seal on there to keep anything from leaking. It just helps preventative maintenance on there, right? We have air that goes there. So as it's turning, you have a seal go in there, and then you have air go in there to help with that, help keep that seal going and keep it primed and everything else. When you start losing your flow on there, or you come out there and you start seeing a drip on your seal, that means your seal's messed up and your seal's starting to leak and it needs to be replaced pretty soon. And then it's the longer that leaks, the less your flow is going to be on your pump on there. These are all your basic stuff, right? So you got your motor, you got your coupling that connects to your impeller. Impeller's a fan. You have your pressure gauge. You have your discharge, your suction. That's your basic stuff you're going to have on a pump on there too. Now you might have different valves go here and there, or you might have a strainer in front, or you might have a strainer, and a strainer basket is basically. So like you can draw, I'll draw right here. So comes out right here, and then y'all bear with me on my drawing here. All right, and then it goes through, and inside you have this little basket, right, that goes inside here, right, and it's got holes in it. So as the material goes in, and you should have a valve right here before it. And then ours, on the top, we have a line that goes down, and we have a valve up here, and then we also have valves on the bottom of the strainer too, right? And then you also have a valve right here on that. So as the flow goes through here, as the material goes through, anything heavy like polymer or anything, it's going to go in, it's going to drop down, it's going to get caught in the strainer basket, and it's going to send just straight material on there. And then when you have to change stuff, you have to block it in before. You have to open up, you have to depressure it, open up, let it drain down, take your strainer out and clean it on there. So that's something that we have on a lot of things, and depending on what type of material it is. But so this is basically just an overview of Pump 101. Okay, suction in, discharge out. You're gonna have a pressure gauge. You're gonna have a check valve. You're gonna have a motor. You're gonna have a coupling. You're gonna have an impeller. You're gonna have whatever kind of it goes through your seal. It could be air. It could be we use this thing called hack. It's a heavy material that goes in there. It thins out. What it does, it thins out the heavy stuff so it flows better down the line. We have that on our seal on some of our stuff too because of heavy material. It's hard to push through. Also, excuse me. So that's just a basic overview of Pump 101 on there for people. It's not hard. It's pretty easy to once you get out there and look, you can trace your line on there. You can kind of, and your suction and discharge will be different sizes too. So one's going to be a little bit bigger, and then one's going to be a little bit thinner as it goes out to help push the material out on that too. So you can walk up. So I always tell people when you go out there, when you're looking at pumps, know which way the suction, which way the discharge. And I mean, a lot of things you can tell. If you know where the check valve is, most of the time your check valve's on your discharge. You can look at that. Your pressure gauge, most of the time your pressure gauge on your discharge too. So you can look at all your lines on there and figure out which way it goes. Now we do have some that the pump stands up and the line runs underneath, so you'll have to look at that. But if you know what to look for, your standard stuff on there. But these are all the basic things. Like I said, you're gonna have your start-stop switch on there. Make sure that your pin's not in. Make sure it's running. Make sure the pin's out. Make sure your breaker's on. You're gonna have your motor, your coupling, your impeller, everything pretty much on there too. It's not hard. It's pretty simple. These are real easy to figure out once you go out there and you look at one. Everything else after that's pretty much, once you learn one, everything else is pretty much the same on there. At least for us anyway. Like I said, the only thing different, it says pump might go this way or pump might go this way, depending on, or the motor, depending on what you're trying to transfer and stuff on there. But just think about things like that when you're getting into it, when you're in the field. Think about looking at this and remember all the different things on there. You check your impeller, it's going to have a guard over. You can see it spinning in there. We used to have the old the lights that flashed us, so we could stick on there and we could see. It's almost like when you tune your fan belt or tuning something on your car, you have the strobe light on there, and then you can read the fan belt on there as it's spinning. So we used to do that with our impeller, so we can see if it's been changed or not on there. You can look on that. But yeah, so all pretty much the same for everything on there. If you have any questions, comment below. I hope other people jump in and comment below. There's different ways of how they got their pump system, or they, like I've seen this, seen that kind of thing, or we don't really have anything to our seals. We use something different. I want to hear everything on that. Anyway, I hope y'all had a good one. Anyway, be safe out there. If you have any questions, just feel free to let me know. And until the next time.